Hello, and it feels like good afternoon for us. I'm Carol Suzuki, I'm the co-founder of the Local Growth podcast. Here with me is Delroy Machens, my partner in crime, and all things really cool, I think. And then we have with us today Marie Darling, and we're gonna do an interview with her. But I think the biggest thing that we're trying to do is really help people like in the local area get their name out there and get seen and heard. And an amazing way to do that is to come on and do a podcast. And I found that when you do an interview, people get to learn so much more like cool things about you that they wouldn't have known otherwise. So with that in mind, I'm just gonna let Marie introduce herself, and it's really exciting because she's got a really unique nonprofit. So Marie, take it away.
Yeah, my name's Marie Darling. I am the founder and president of Nuisance Farm and Sanctuary, which is a new pig and farm animal sanctuary in the Rapid City area. We're located out in Rapid Valley. And I'm a business banker by day. When I come home, I strip off my business clothes and get dirty and spend the rest of the day cleaning up after pigs, feeding pigs, petting pigs, and worrying about pigs.
So this is really unique. I don't think ever I did have a couple of friends that owned pigs, and they were really attached to them. But I don't think I've ever heard of anyone doing a nonprofit, specifically for pigs and farm animals, right? Beyond caring for them, Marie, can you tell me a little bit about what your sanctuary, what you're trying to accomplish for these animals in the area? Because I think what you're doing is very unique.
I think it absolutely is, and I think we are the only official sanctuary on the west side of the state, if not in South Dakota. Of course, that we're kind of a ranching state. That is definitely a unique concept, I think, for South Dakota. And we focus mostly on, not exceptionally, but mostly on mini pigs. So any pig that is 300 pounds and smaller. And what brings them to us a lot of times is that there has been a growing trend of people getting pet pigs that they want to have in their homes, just like a dog or a cat, which in general is not a bad idea. Pigs can make fantastic pets. However, what this has led to is increased breeding by
Okay.
so-called mini pig breeders that are claiming that their pigs are smaller, smallest, micro, any of those things. And they advertise and sell those pigs really kind of with false claims.
Sure.
Breeding very young animals that have not fully reached their adult growth yet. So the parents seems very small, advertising piglets as fully grown pigs. And then we have, people that love pigs, which there's a lot of people that love pigs, not only on their plates, but actually love pigs. And they, and they get kind of caught in this myth of, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a little pig that I can carry around my purse like a chihuahua, and it'll sleep in my bed, and it'll, sit on my lap. And then 2-3 years rolls around, and this pig keeps on growing and growing and growing because the presentation was incorrect. What the expectations that were given by the breeder were incorrect. And a lot of times the breeders really don't even know how big this pig is going to be, because they don't even know how big the parents are going to be at the time of breeding.
I see.
That creates that problem of, now I'm living in an apartment complex and I have a 300-pound pig. What do I do?
Right, that was supposed to be a cute pet. So am I hearing that part of your mission is probably going to be some education, maybe, I could see almost like a need to vet, to pre-qualify, like, and explain to, like, you want to use this breeder because they're reputable, like things to look for before you buy a pig. I don't know,
Yes.
like I can imagine there's a lot of um need for education, if I'm hearing you correctly. Would you?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the lack of education in that area is tremendous. And I think a lot of it is because we get carried away, right? We see, and I mean, that happens not only with piglets, but it happens with any cute little creature. We see this cute little puppy and oh my goodness, we want this puppy in our homes. And even if it is a Belgian Malinois that really needs to be worked, for a couple of hours every day to keep the mind and the body entertained and healthy and happy, at the time that we want this critter, we might, not consider what their needs really are down in the future. And then we are not maybe able to provide that for them. And it, might also cramp our lifestyle tremendously then.
Right. And so
Yeah.
am I also understanding that so you're taking these animals that really the fantasy is not meeting up with the reality and then you're caring for them? Can
That's
you describe
exactly.
us a little bit what happens in that way? Like when I call you, like say I bought a pig and I thought it was gonna be a mini pig, and within a year it's just something that I wasn't expecting. How do
Right.
like
Right.
take me through that journey? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's not a very common concept. Um, what we've seen here in the recent past is we have seen people that have adopted a piglet, didn't realize how smart this animal is, because pigs are the fourth smartest animal in the world. We're number one, pigs are number four, dogs are number 13. So just let that sink in, how smart these creatures truly are. They have the intellect of a 3-year-old toddler. Okay.
Yeah.
So now imagine you have a 300-pound toddler running around in your house,
Fine.
right? So you're kind of on your own, right? There's not really many people probably in your neighborhood that can help you with that.
No.
The ordinances in the city and the counties around here vary. It might not even be legal necessarily to have a pig where you have. And so you really don't know where to go with this animal now that you have determined this really doesn't work out for me.
Yeah.
Of course, we always recommend that you try and find somebody who may be willing to privately adopt the pig first. We like to try and stay kind of a last resort situation, just because otherwise we will just explode completely and we're not going to be
Yeah.
able to deal with it. But if there are situations where it's, pig has to be gone yesterday, we will absolutely gladly step in, help, facilitate a new home for the pig, whether it's with us or whether we adopt it out from there,
Okay.
and make sure that the animal has, a good quality life following this situation.
Sure. So I know this is fairly new for you. So
It is.
as a community member, how do we support you in the community?
Boy, there's so many things, so many ways to do that. Of course, we are a 501c3 charity, so we rely solely on donations to support our cause. So any donation is tax deductible, of course, and we appreciate any of those, but also things such as having leftover produce, that, you otherwise would throw away and it would go bad. Bring it by or
Okay.
have one of us come by and pick it up. The pigs will be more than happy to have the leftovers. And that whatever money you spend on that is not going to waste. Come Halloween. Boy, how many pumpkins are thrown away? Well, our
Yeah.
pigs love pumpkins. That's pretty exciting for them. So, we will gladly drive around and pick up pumpkins. Donate to our local vet, which is um, Town and
Okay.
Country Vet, Dr. Burke. Give them a holler and ask if you can donate to this Nuisance Farm and Sanctuary account, because we have ever occurring vet bills, of course, just like
Okay.
any rescue. We currently have 7 piglets that happen to come along after we rescued mom and dad. They have to be spayed and neutered. Mom and dad have to be spayed and neutered. We just had one pig that came down with a heat stroke that
Oh,
required extensive vet care. So anything, any monetary donation, any produce donation are well appreciated. Or even come on out, bring your kids, meet these pigs and just sit down with them and scratch their bellies. And I tell you what, you may think that that's ridiculous, but there's nothing as calming as sitting next to a sleeping pig that is just happy to letting you scratch their belly. And many people have never even been around a live pig.
no,
And it's
yeah,
it's just
probably
a really
not.
unique experience. Yeah, we always just envision this pork chop or this slice of bacon, which, while I no longer eat meat, I understand absolutely where
We have a
that's
disconnect
that.
there. Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing, but we don't have that connect anymore, and people really don't know what they're eating. And I think pigs are one of the animals that are probably treated the worst,
Sure.
commercially. So I think it's important to learn how these animals truly function, um, kind of put a face to the food, so to speak. So
Sure.
maybe we can source a little better when
Sure.
we do, buy our groceries and,
Well, and our pets, right?
our pets. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, because it just seems like um, that is an emerging industry. And I think just like when you have opportunities, there are people that will step in to fill those opportunities, right? So
Yes.
I really can see the need for education. So Marie,
Yeah.
I've seen that you've put some events on Facebook as well. Like, where are the places that you're very active? So, say if I was really curious about learning more about pet pigs, how should I engage with you? Like, do you have a blog? Do you have a website?
We are pretty active on Facebook, so you can follow us at Nuisance Farm and Sanctuary on Facebook. We also have, our email, that's nuisancefarmandsanctuary@gmail.com, or you're
Nice.
always welcome to call at 605-418-7836, and we'll be more than happy to provide you with any information. But I think the easiest way at this point, we haven't gotten around to building a website yet because I'm not particularly techie, and neither is anybody that's on the board with me. So that's something that's going to be coming. But right now,
Sure.
Facebook Messenger is probably honestly the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of us.
Nice. And then I think I definitely wanted to ask because I was kind of there when you announced that you were going to do this as a nonprofit. What like sparked all of that, Marie? Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm
Right.
just curious, like, how did that happen? I know there's
Why
a
did I wake
story.
up one morning and decided I'm not have a pig
Pretty
sanctuary?
much that'd be my question too. I was like, how
Right?
does one go from business banker to pig sanctuary? And I'm like, yeah, I would really love to hear that story.
I guess we need our creative outlet, right? Well, I grew up in Germany, and I grew up in a small suburb, by a little bit larger town, but we still had dairy farmers at the time. And they were small dairy farmers. They had maybe 8 to 20 cows or something like that. But it was very common to go and get your milk fresh from the dairy farmer. So we literally would, as children, walk down to the dairy farmer with our little milk can, fill it up. I think it was a mark per liter at the time, so 50 cents a liter, which is what, I don't do math very well outside of work, so I can't think of what it is right now. But it's about a third, right, of a gallon, and bring it back home and then go back. Well, I really enjoyed that whole industry. And thankfully, it was a small industry. It wasn't very commercialized. So,
Right.
and every once in a while, they would have a butcher hog that they would raise. And I just thought they were just I just loved those pigs. I would feed them, I would hang out with them, I'd take them for walks, and sobbed, of course, bitterly when their time had come. And I always wanted a pet pig. That was always my desire. And my husband, when we got married, said, yeah, we're not going to have a pet pig. Like, that's not something you do, and we're not going to have one of those creatures. He had also literally never even touched a pig, right? He had no idea
Oh
what
yeah.
that even entails. So it was just kind of that fear of the unknown. Well, 20 years later, I like to say I kind of slowly sawed away at him until he
You wore
fell.
you wore him
And
down.
kind of,
You wore him.
he's not very good at giving gifts. And I said, it was Valentine's Day, and I have 2021, and I said, if you don't have anything for me for Valentine's Day yet, you could get me a piglet. I'd be, okay with that. And of course, he initially said, nice try. We're not giving you a piglet. I've told you I don't want a piglet. And I kind of kept working away at it gently until he said, well, I guess maybe we can get one, but it's going to have to stay in the barn. And I said, well, of course, it's not going to be in the house. It's going to have a stall in the barn. It's a pig, right? It doesn't come in the house. I didn't mean any of that. So of course we do. Very quickly, we got the piglet, and the piglet is in the house. And he got used to that, and then he said, but at least, don't have it come in the bed, okay? I mean, we have dogs in the beds, we have cats in the bed. The pig, I don't want in the bed. Well, it ended up in the bed as well. So But
They're
from there,
very clean. Like people have a misconception. Pigs are very clean.
very clean, very clean.
Yeah.
These pigs, I mean, they are easier to potty train than a dog. And you can set them up with a litter box that's comparable really to a kitty litter box, except that you actually use cheaper litter than you would with a cat. It smells less, and once they're adults, they can hold it just like a dog would that's fully potty trained. So my house pig is, in her little room that we have made for her, which is in our laundry room. She spends the days there. She sleeps while we're at work. When we come home, we let her out along with our dogs. She does her business, comes back in, eats dinner, and hangs out just like any dog. So they really are
Yeah.
incredibly. They're not a difficult animal to have if you know what you're letting yourself into.
Right. So I'm sorry, I cut you off though, because you're like, okay, now the pig's in the bed. I'm like, people are gonna think that's crazy, right? Because our ideas of what that is
Okay.
like is not true. So okay, so now you have this your pig that's fully integrated into your family. So then what's that like next step into just like knowing there's an issue and then wanting to do something about that?
Right. From there, I got involved in a lot of pig groups on Facebook. There's actually an American Miniature Pig Association that was founded with kind of the same idea of providing education to people about mini pigs or pigs in general and how to keep them, how to make sure people succeed having pigs as pets. And then from there, there's more and more groups that have evolved off of there, of course, and one thing that really stood out to me was the amount of people that on a daily basis try to rehome their pet pigs because their situation has changed and they can no longer keep it. The other thing I noticed was the outcries from a lot of sanctuaries that are overwhelmed. I mean, they are overflowing with pigs. They don't know what to do with them. Their hearts are bleeding because they don't have room to provide anymore. But at the same time, they cannot afford to take in any more animals. And, I had a personal experience with this that really kind of started the wheels spinning when a local rescue, Stars, Save Them All Rescue, reached out on Facebook last May, actually, and was asking if anybody would be possibly able to foster a pig. There was a pig that had been found in a mobile home court out in Piedmont. It was a Kuni pig, which is it's a pig from New Zealand that's kind of a medium-sized pig, I would say, probably around 150 to 200 pounds, very hardy and kind of a heritage pig breed.
Okay.
That somebody was keeping in their mobile home. The pig was severely overweight. I mean, probably weighed twice as much as he should have. He had never had any hoof care done. He couldn't get up and walk because A, he was too overweight, and B, his feet were too long. He was just in miserable shape. He had been attacked by dogs when he was younger, and he lost 1.5 of his ears.
Okay.
So it was just a very sad situation. And the owner, as much as she loved him, and she loved this pig dearly, but she was just not able to care for him anymore. And so the police were involved, and this pig had to go. And I offered to my husband's dismay, I offered to foster this pig, and we brought him to our house, and he stayed in the barn. That was one of the demands my husband had. We have one in the house. We don't need more in the house, and that's fair. But, he stayed in the barn, and we helped him lose probably 100 pounds. Got his nails, got his feet taken care of, shortened his tusks, made sure he was healthy and happy. And at that point, he's not a pretty guy. He's not, the term fugly. That was probably applied to him, but he is just very, very sweet. But we could not stomach the idea of adopting him out.
Right.
A life of uncertainty, right?
Right, yeah.
And he has megaesophagus from being so large. He chokes occasionally. I learned how to do
He needs a lot of care. Yeah, he
takes a lot of care.
He's not for the novice.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I was somewhat of a novice, but I learned really quickly that you can do a Heimlich maneuver on a pig.
I was just about to ask that. I was like, did you just say you learned to do a Heimlich on a
Yep.
pig?
It's a whole other thing. Yeah. But so that's kind of
Yeah.
where really the idea started. Maybe we could, I mean, we don't have a lot of land. We have 12 acres, but maybe we could spare a little bit of our land and of our barn.
Well, and then so that comes to too is like there's always more, right, Marie? So
always.
yeah. So with that being said, how would you say that your sanctuary is different from, the other groups out there?
Right. I've seen enough sanctuaries struggle and put themselves in a position that is really compromising the well-being of the animals to where I know I don't want to go down that route, right? So we really are trying to stay a small sanctuary. We would like to not exceed 10 pigs at a time because we realize that care is expensive, feed is expensive. Donations are hard to come to these days, right? I mean, inflation is hitting everybody very hard. And so that's not something that's on the forefront of people's minds. So in order to provide the best care for animals, which to me is just the number one concern, we really try to stay at a manageable size so that our pigs can really lead the best life that they can while they're in our care.
So that brings me to what do you see yourself doing as the Nuisance sanctuary in the next year to 3 years? Because I think a lot of people, they go into a business and they think if I just build this, they will come, if I'm just here and doing this thing, it'll all just magically work itself out. And I hope I didn't drop again. I'm seeing my internet.
What you were gonna ask was what do you see your main goal being, for the next year to 3 years
Right.
coming up?
Sure. I think for us, the most important thing right now really is to become established in the community, to get the word out so that people know we even exist, right? Because that's something that takes some time. And so it's going to be important for us to really put ourselves out there and become parent, become seen, really get involved with education events so that people have the opportunity to learn about these animals and make an informed decision before they get themselves in the situation with having a pet pig, not knowing what to do with it. But then kind of on the big, what do you call it? One of the big goals for me really would be, I would like, currently we have our pigs in our horse stall. So, and they're kind of taken over. I mean, we have a pig stall. They have free access to a 6-acre pasture that they can wander in. But I would like to get to a point where I can build a pig stall or a pig barn, where we have everything that we need for these guys under one roof. And where the horses kind of can maybe get their barn back as well. I've been
space guy.
Yeah, right. It's not a big deal, right? But in winter it gets a little chilly. So that's kind of our big goal is to make it to where we can have the separate building that has everything that we need for these animals under one roof, from a scale to a place, a clean place where we can do examinations, have our vet come out and check them out, and really just make sure that we can provide best care again.
So Marie, I guess in closing, again, the best place to get a hold of you would be on Facebook. What's your Facebook page name?
My Facebook page name is Nuisance Farm and Sanctuary. And you will notice
that's in South Dakota.
It's in South Dakota, and this would be the logo. Of course, it's the wrong way around, due to, but
it's reading good. That's fun.
Isn't that neat? Yeah. And this picture was actually drawn by a local artist for my birthday. My daughter had it commissioned. And on this picture, you will see, so in the middle is Neville. We haven't talked about Neville, but he's our only farm hog that we have. He's a Berkshire pig. He was a rescue. He was the second rescue. Then we have Olive, our house pig, with a critical look over here. And this little guy right here is Gizmo, the first rescue. So my daughter had put this together for me for my birthday last year. And with the artist's permission, we were able to turn this into our logo. So that, that would really be a great way to get in touch with us. And of course, we do have 7 little piglets that are going to be looking for homes here in the next 6 weeks. They will be neutered. They will be spayed. We know what to expect, how big they're going to get. And we will not tell you any fairy tales about, oh yeah, they'll stay in your purse. You can strap them to your chest. We will be truthful about, how big these animals we expect them to get. And they will always have a place to return to if things should not work out. So, yeah, we would love anybody to reach out and support, because it really is very rewarding once you kind of have overcome this deer in the headlight feeling of, why is this person having a pig sanctuary?
I did have one question for you too before we go.
Yeah.
If there was like one thing that you needed anyone out there to like know, either about the sanctuary or just in general of like owning or, dealing with pigs, what would you say that would be?
That's a really good question. And there's a lot of things that come to mind. I think, the most important thing really is, would you be able to have a toddler that can weigh up to 300 pounds in your house and keep that toddler on good behavior? And that sounds really quite terrible, especially probably to you, Delroy, because you're just dealing with that. But
that's a big no for me.
But
right?
If you are somebody who can set guidelines and you can stick to those guidelines, and you set the realistic expectation that this animal will probably be maybe the size of a large dog, but probably outweighing them, then
we
you
can
will
even talk about how long they live, Marie. How long do they live? Like, what?
Oh boy, yeah. I mean,
that's another can of worms.
Maybe we should another can of worms. I mean, you're looking from 10 years, which is kind of on the low end, really. That's for the larger mini pigs, to up to 25 years. I mean, it's a commitment. It is a commitment,
Yeah.
So I agreed. I'm glad you mentioned that. You need to.
It just popped up in my brain. Like, I think they live a long time. So, like, that is a life partner.
It is. It is. I mean, it's kind of like a bird, right? Like a parakeet or something. I mean, you want to do the same thing, and just know that, have a backup plan, right? Don't just go into this blindsided, because I think one thing that's probably worse than raising an animal and butchering that animal, to me, would be raising an animal to trust humans, to feel like humans are part of its pack or herd, or whatever you want to call it, and then discarding off that animal. I mean, that is probably one of the largest breaches of trust you can do. So be sure that, you check with your neighbors, you check with your landlord, you check with, maybe the local ordinance office. Make sure that you are okay to have this animal and you're committed to giving this animal a great home, because odds are, if you have to rehome it, the future might be bleak, right? For a pig, especially in our area. So
yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Marie. Again, everybody look forward. I'm looking forward to the pictures of the babies on your Facebook feed, and like when they get adopted, doing a little celebration for sure, right?
Yes, exactly. Our plan is to, really get them. They're starting to develop their own personalities and start to look differently from each other. So in the next few weeks, we're going to really try to assign them their, I don't want to say their personality, but to really find out who these piglets are, so that we can make sure that we adopt them to the right people. So keep an eye on that on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marie, for joining us today. And it's been educational for sure and interesting. Anybody that's watching this, as always, I think nonprofits, and especially something like this, there's not a government grant for this, right? So they can always use your support and money, food, and just, again, get a hold of Marie on Facebook, or we can call.
Yes,
and let them know how we can support. Yeah.
Yes, we so appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.